Garry, I know you, obviously. I know you know quite a lot about politics. You know quite a lot about numerology. You know quite a lot about a wide range of things. Let's talk about numerology first, I think, because that's what you're the king of, right? Not that you're not ignorant of other things. Like, I know you got some decent amount of knowledge. Me and you like used to talk and debate all the time. So, Garry, numerology, like, is it fake? Like, what is it? Is this like this mystic stuff? Like, you see all these palm readers and they tell you we can tell you the future. Like, what is numerology all about for the new listeners?
Listen, before I came around, numerology and astrology and tarot was for women. And, then I did what all men do, make things better. And I made it make sense, because what you have to understand is we live in a virtual reality. And the only way to basically identify how to read and navigate through this virtual reality are basically the tools within the matrix itself, which is numerology and astrology. Like, for instance, you've seen me do this in front of many people, just reading like a book. You have the ability to do that too. You might be a little modest over here, but you could do that too. That's why you smiling. And the only reason that is possible is because we live in a false realm. I'm not sure how that's going to sound to the religious fanatics in this or are listening, but when it comes down to it, you have to understand that this is not real. This is a false realm. We're going to be judged by our deeds, that's for sure. But when it comes down to it, numerology and astrology is a way for us to navigate through this false realm. That's the way I look at it.
And yeah, because you believe that this is almost like a matrix, a projection. And the projection comes from your soul, and then your soul is based on whatever numerological output you are, right?
The matrix isn't what Tate says, the Rothschilds, the big banking cabal. Yeah, that's real, but that's not the matrix. The real matrix is the virtual reality that's between the third, fourth, and second dimension. And we're all stuck here. And, the goal is to get out of here. I'm not sure how that's possible, but that should be the goal for everyone to get out. But, while you're in the matrix, understand that it's not Christ is king. It's not Allah. It's not whatever is in the Bible or the Torah or the Talmud, because I know people want me to add that one in. What is king is karma. Because you sow what you reap. And if you do bad deeds, they come back to you like a boomerang. So karma is king.
I mean, look, Garry, we've had a lot of debates about this, right? I do think that you hold, even though you said about Allah, we've had this conversation. I do think you hold the most Islamic position when it comes to the belief in God than anybody I know. So
Why? Because I believe in stony. Is that why?
No.
What is this? Because you're never going to see me get down on all my fours and pray. You're never going to see me willingly give away my energy to some deity. That's never going to happen, no matter if it's Allah, Christ, or whoever's in the Talmud. I don't care, Buddha, whatever. All of that stuff is nonsense to me. Now, some of the principles that religion preaches makes a lot of sense. Nuclear family, things of that nature, I believe in. And I believe that women should be covered up. I believe that alcohol should be illegal. I don't think anyone should drink. And quite frankly, I don't think anyone should eat pork. That should be an endangered freaking species. Pigs should be an endangered species. Why are you eating this garbage?
So I'm not talking about that. Obviously, those are views, ideas, legalistic positions. I'm talking about your view on God. So what I call Allah and what my view of God is that he's basically not substance. He's beyond time and space. What you call the prime creator, somebody who can't be, isn't within time and space, is beyond that, something that we stated in the Quran in Surah Ikhlas. Your position about the prime creator is very Islamic, according to me.
Does Allah interfere?
Well, again, there's different schools of thought on that. Some believe that, God does interfere in the world. That's the vast majority opinion.
Yes.
There are others who believe that God doesn't interfere in terms of a physical sense, because the physicality of God can't happen. But God has created a mechanism in the universe that can basically, have things happen. So, for example, the mechanism of what you're calling karma or the mechanism of praying and dua and these type of things in terms of asking things for God, not in terms of worship. So there's all these different aspects that Muslims believe in. What's your thoughts?
Ask God for money, for pussy, for fucking all fame. I don't really think he's answering your calls. Quite frankly, when it comes down to it, I don't think he answers anyone's calls. He, she, it, whatever. It's a prime creator, and because it does not interfere. Now, you want to, there's definitely jinn and angels that interfere, but the Almighty himself, no. And it really bothers me when people tell me they talk to God. Where do you talk to God? How does he communicate with you? Tell me. And then people will tell me, oh, you're not connected to the source and all this other stuff. Listen, I don't believe in fairy tales. I don't believe a virgin got pregnant and gave Jesus. I don't believe an illiterate man wrote the Quran, or I'm sorry, Muhammad heard or had premonitions of the Quran to write. I don't believe any of that stuff. I really don't. So when it comes down to it, do I believe there's a lot of decency and morality that should be followed in the good books? Yes. But I just don't believe the fairy tales with them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I disagree with you in terms of that, because I do believe that the Quran is the word of God. I do believe that it was given to the Prophet, peace be upon him, directly from God, not within substance, but
how did this happen?
Well, how did it actually happen? So in my view, or the normal Islamic position, so the actual standard Islamic position is that the angels brought the message of God to the Prophet and basically verbal language passed it onto the Prophet, who then passed it onto the people who wrote it down.
An illiterate man, by the way, right?
Well, their argument is this. The standard Islamic position's argument is that because he was illiterate, he wasn't able to add in his own thoughts and positions onto the information. Therefore, all he was essentially the conduit. So God provided him with the information, and then he passed it on to his companions who wrote it down. Now, I don't actually hold that position. My position actually is that he wasn't illiterate, but the majority position in Islam is that he was illiterate. Yeah.
You don't find that hard to believe? I mean, you're a man of sound judgment, sound reason. You really believe that some people came down, some angels, and told a man to write a book because God wanted humans to follow his law? That just seems like a fairy tale to me.
No, I'll tell you.
It really does, bro.
I'll tell you what I believe. So I believe that what happened was God inspired, because I believe people can be inspired. As you also believe that people of different souls, if you're a 33, you have certain abilities, you have certain inspirational inclination. This is your position,
which brings me to another point about Islam. They don't believe in reincarnation. I do, because you have old souls and you have new souls. Everyone knows that. Young souls, old souls. How can an old soul exist unless reincarnation exists? So that's another position I disagree with.
You do.
Islam.
Reincarnation. Well, Muslims believe that you can be. So let me be clear on this. Muslims believe that you can only be reincarnated once, which is to heaven. That's the vast majority position. There are certain Sufis who actually believe that, for example, they wrote this, that this Adam is the 33rd Adam. So they give that example, which could basically be a bit more linked to your position from a Sufi perspective. Because remember, Islam isn't a monolith. Now, coming back onto your thing, in terms of being divine, I believe the Prophet was divinely inspired. And then from God, because what happens is God's created this world. People are dumb. People can be easily manipulated. People can be easily controlled. They forget about truth and falsehood and these type of things. And so you always need someone who is divinely inspired, who can basically reiterate the message. And so that's what the job of the Prophet is. So he was divinely inspired. And then he relayed the Quran to his companions. And that became a manual whereby which, let's say I get misguided, then I remember, wait a second, we're eating pork in this society. Someone like you might be able to figure it out, Garry. But other people need the manual to sell them. Actually, you shouldn't eat pork. So
no, maybe those people who need the manual, maybe they need to give prey, but I sure as hell don't. I figured it all out without that good book, without giving my power of worship. I'm a 33 like you. You need to keep your energy, brother. You're like just offer your energy to a deity who's way more powerful than you. What am I going to look like to give a deity my energy? I'm not going to do that, man. He's powerful enough. You don't need me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't agree with that, but I want to move on.
I bet you do.
So,
are we talking about Israel too?
We're going to talk about it. We're just going to stick on the numerology for a bit more longer. So, you said I'm a 33. You're a 33. What is a 33 for the viewers?
It's basically the oldest soul that you can have as a human being, the highest possible frequency you could basically achieve as a human being. 1 through 9, then 11, 22, and 33, then to a different dimension, to a fourth dimension, you're out of here. And basically what it comes down to is 33s have always, since the beginning of time, dominated humanity. It doesn't matter if we're talking about the first in flight, like the Wright brothers, doesn't matter talking about the internet, doesn't matter what the hell we're talking about. Most of the inventions were created by 33s. The top arm wrestler of all time is a 33. The top female bodybuilder of all time is a 33. It doesn't matter what the hell you do as a 33, you dominate. I'm the top numerologist in the world. There's not even a question of that. Suleiman came out of fucking nowhere and started dominating goddamn Twitter. Why? Because he's all cute and everything? Why? Because he is a mouthpiece? A lot of people got mouthpieces. He's a fucking 33. So that's what fucking 33s do. Whatever they choose to do, they dominate. And if they don't, then they're actual failures. And they're going to have to be reincarnated and do it all over again. Because let me tell you something. If you're a 33 and you have no influence, fail. And you know that too, Suleiman. And that's why you call yourself the king of Twitter. And I'll tell you something, man. Since I met this guy, he's threw humility out the door, man. This guy's calling himself the king of Twitter now. All that good stuff, man. See, once you're around other 33s, you start getting more cocky.